So from this week's class and from the reading, I learned that applying the step ladders model into changing our behavior is pretty essential. Uh, is mainly because of its powers of incremental. Um, because people don't usually do things that they don't see result quickly, and that's how this step ladder model comes into play, where it kind of led us to focus on the small steps and then and get to see the results immediately. And then the most important thing is that we also kind of have a small celebration at the end of the at the end after we achieve the steps that we created for ourselves. So that's like a mini goals there. So that's how we can kind of have the happiness from achieving the goals, and that we can see that our achievement quickly. And that's like the power of this step ladders model, which allows us to feel the happiness immediately, and then we can just stick with the behaviors continuously because we can we feel the happiness from doing this behavior. And then I also mentioned the powers of incremental earlier, because step ladder is just focused on a small step at one time instead of the bigger dreams or like the bigger goals. Like after like when we focus on a small step, we don't really think of the big dream, but after a while, when you look back, then we know that we just realize that wow, we have come such a long way. I would say just keep doing the small little steps, then we'll notice how much powers that we have gained, or like how much how long that we have came. Also, I also learned that it is not that effective to keep focusing on the big dream, because they only can motivate you for a short period of time. Like if you are thinking, oh, I'm going to be a rock star in one day and like in some other day in the future, and then that really motivates you to um like just keep you pumped, but it doesn't really do anything if you are keep daydreaming, because it is more important to think of the steps, goals, and dream and apply that into your life. That's more important than focusing on the big dream, because they usually fail. So speaking of that, then one behavior that I want to stick with, or like some situation that in my life that I want to change, is that I want to lose weight and then have lean muscle. So this is really a dream, because I've never really having that much of a lean muscle or like lose weight in a reasonable amount of time, or even if I notice it. So my dream, so the definition of dream is usually I've never achieved it before, and then it usually takes longer than 3 months. It's kind of like a long-term goal, but like for a dream, I've never achieved it before. So it will be something that I really want to become or to do. And then for like a goal, it usually takes about a few weeks to a month, or maybe a few months. And also it really depends on if it's like short-term goals or long-term goals. So that's a goals, a little milestone that I set for myself, and usually I have the experience already of achieving those goals. And then the third one is called the steps. So a step is usually a very small, really small, like open a book or put on my tennis shoes to play some tennis, something like that. And it's like the time frame is usually like 1 day or just less than a week, something like that. So speaking of the dreams that I was talking about earlier, which is to lose weight and have lean muscle. So in order to make it more clear, um, I would say it's like I want to lose 10 pounds in 3 months. So there are some quantifiable numbers there that I can focus on. And then that would be my dream. So my goal would be like my short-term goals would be lose 1 pound in a week, and that's like really reasonable, and it's not really like some crazy number of like losing 10 pounds in 2 weeks, something like that, because that's really just not healthy. So like this is pretty small goals. So my goal is just to lose 1 pound in a week. And then so my step would be like just kind of like divided from the goals would be I plan to do cardio exercise for like at least 40 minutes a day. And then another step would be um, eating like at least a plate of vegetables every meal. And then another steps would be I would do like intermittent fasting, such as like I will fast for like 16 hours and then eat for like 8 hours. And yeah, that would be my steps. And then in order to divide that into an even smaller step for me to stick with the behavior, that would be like every evening I would plan on what kind of exercise, what kind of cardio exercise I would do the next morning so that I will reduce the friction in between me of like wasting time in the morning to choose what kind of exercise I want to do. Mm, and then as for like the vegetables and meals, like the day before, like in the morning, in the evening, I will also plan on what kind of vegetables I will be eating, and then like kind of plan out the portion size. For the fasting, it's pretty routine. I'll just do it the next day because if I make it into a routine, then I'm more likely to stick with it, and it will be usually in the same hours. So that will be makes me more likely to stick with it. So I just basically talked about the definitions and then what I learned in the class and from the reading. And then in the end, I also talked about like how I apply this application into my life. And yeah, that's this week.